Okay.
I only have the microphone on. I prevent such casualties, Byron. There we go. That's there. We are now live. Hey guys, this is Brett. Welcome to B-Roll. I'm a turtle. This is Byron. He's wearing a Gears of War shirt.
I'm a human.
He's a human. I'm a turtle. What's
I'm a
going
normal
on?
person.
I'm not really a turtle. I don't know if you could tell.
He's a turtle.
I'm a turtle.
You're a ninja turtle.
I'm a ninja turtle. Is that what's going on right now?
So Brett, why don't you tell us what's the story behind the onesie?
So the story behind the onesie, it's not like groundbreaking or anything of the sort, but my kids were having a pajama party at an event on Saturday, and I decided they needed cool pajamas to wear there because we were also having a costume party the following day. So I needed pajamas that were both pajamas but then also costumes. So I looked up, where can I get pajama costumes? Well, it turns out there's a place in Cape Town that sells onesies in the style of your favorite characters. And so I am a turtle.
But the style, right? It's not like
It's
the actual...
inspired by.
Yeah.
It is inspired by.
Because it's like, there's this piece here. Is it his tongue?
That's
or
it.
is it like a tooth?
I think that's his tongue.
His tongue. They should have made it red, but yeah, you can pretty much see what the character is straight away.
Yeah. Would
Cool.
you want one, Byron?
I don't know, man. Like, is it comfortable, you know?
Yeah, it's comfortable. The only issue that I have with it is the fact that it's like insanely hot right now. Just because it's not like it's
Airy.
not winter right now. But
I
this
guess.
is like feel the fabric.
Yeah,
That's
it's thick.
it's thick.
It's
Like
really
I'm
thick.
definitely gonna be sweating up a storm right now during.
But it'd
this
be
stream.
nice in winter though.
It would be, yeah.
But like, the feet
No, it's
aren't
going-
covered, right?
No, the feet aren't covered, so I'm gonna have to wear socks and slippers. But no, it's totally gonna be like this is legit for winter, and since winter is coming, like it was the perfect time to buy.
Okay, Jon Snow.
So,
Is there anything underneath there?
I am wearing some form of clothes underneath.
I'd hope so, guys.
A form of clothing, yes.
Awesome. Anyway, like Brett said, guys, welcome to episode 12? 11?
Yeah, we're 12.
Episode 12 of B-Roll. What are we discussing today?
We're discussing a lot of stuff. Do you want to start off just kind of telling us how your week was as I get this on
I'm
my
sure.
Facebook?
I'm
Like
just
I'm trying to
find
do,
out what the
I'm trying to
topics
do
are,
something, and you're like, "Hey, let's go in depth." And it's like
No.
my brain cells can only handle so much information at once.
Yeah, I guess. Turtles are not that smart, so...
That's true.
No, yeah, my week, the past week, I can't even think, to be honest. I've been playing a lot of, like, Fast RMX, funny enough. Like, I'm trying to finish the, like...
Campaign?
It's
Okay.
not really a campaign, but, like, I'm just trying to do the 100% completion to get, like, all the different vehicles in that.
Okay.
I'm pretty blank right now. I can't think of anything else.
Come on, Byron. That's depending on you to hold the ground.
I can't think of anything else I did in the past week. Like, there were no launches or anything I was specifically involved in, I guess.
Okay.
No, wait, hold on. I went to something on Friday.
What did you go to on Friday, Byron? Tell us. Tell us what your life has been about.
What
All right.
event was this weekend?
What event was this week? The Switch Splatoon 2.
Yes, man, the
Yeah.
global test fire.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah,
So,
so
that was Saturday.
Well, Friday we did a live stream here at my place. We
Yeah.
did the initial global test fire. We did a live stream of that.
Yeah.
And then you went to the actual Switch launch in Joburg.
Yeah. So I went to the Switch launch in Joburg. I had to book a seat, I guess you could call it that.
It was
because-
free. You just had to let
Yeah,
them
you
know
said
you were
book
coming.
it. Yeah. Because there were only so many consoles obviously set up, and there was a time limit to how long people could play.
Okay.
There was an
Was
issue.
it like one round?
No.
Okay.
Time limit as in so they had like 10 consoles set up,
Okay.
and each session was an hour long because that's when the test fire was, and you could book that hour session for yourself.
Okay, that's cool.
So it was cool.
Yeah.
I booked it. They had an issue though because so it's quite kind of interesting. Considering the building that they had hosted their event inside of was a very like corporate building.
Was it the same one?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Switch?
But
Okay.
remember the previous was a very offline event.
Yes.
They had like a proxy set in place because of the building obviously having
Okay.
like lots of employees like
Yes.
not gaming.
Yeah.
And we got to it and it didn't work. And it was kind of an embarrassing situation where it's like
You're here for the global test fire that you can't participate in.
Yeah, so fortunately, I think something that was very, very positive coming from that was that I suggested, listen, why don't we like connect to someone's phone as a hotspot? Like, it's not their fault. They couldn't have known this,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they just booked the area or whatever. They were expecting it to work. Connected to a phone, and like 4 or 5 people were playing at the same time. And there wasn't even like a single ounce of like input lag in the feel of the game.
Right.
Which kind of is cool considering it's like EU servers. So
so there's at least like 200 ms of ping, no matter what. It's
it's not even
you
that.
don't feel it when you're playing the game.
You don't feel any of the issue. So like I definitely see potential for people like in our region at least playing the game even though it's EU servers.
Okay, yeah.
So I was happy to see that, but like I don't know, like you and I both played it on Friday. It's
okay.
It's okay. I don't see you buying it at
No
all.
chance.
Like split screen, if maybe in 2 years from now your kids could probably enjoy it together, but like
Maybe, yeah. I don't think so.
I don't think it's a game for you.
Yeah.
I play more competitive games, but it's not competitive enough.
Okay.
Although, so you remember when we were playing, like we had maybe gotten, let's say, 3 kills per round at most, right? Or
Yeah.
splats they call it, right?
Yeah.
There was this kid there that was like 4 years old.
Yeah.
Pro.
Really?
Like literally, so you were complaining about the motion controls, right?
Yeah, no, he intuitive.
He was just like, I need the motion controls. I played Splatoon 1, walks in there, like this 4-year-old, and everyone's like, what? Dude, like every 3 seconds, kill from across the map, things like sniping guys, and I'm just like,
Okay.
I see people being able to play this. We're noobs.
Yeah.
Like, we're not good at it, that's all. So
Yeah. All right. Well, everybody in the chat seems to already be discussing one of our main topics, which is going to be Intel Optane.
Awesome.
So why don't we maybe just hop on over to that article since everybody's already itching to go.
Might
You
as
guys
well.
are getting ahead of us. We're trying to talk about our lives because this is about tech and gaming, but it's B-roll
turtles.
because it's Brett and Byron and Turtles. So I don't even know. But but the point is,
Almost threw you off there.
we're so glad you're here. This is for all of us to come together, to watch together, to participate, and I'm doing a motion that shapes a turtle. So let's just get to Optane.
You
That's
should
all I
just
got. That's all I got.
Cover your head back
Okay,
inside.
so Intel Optane memory is SRT cache
Yeah.
again. So this is an article from Tom's Hardware detailing
Pretty reputable source. I mean,
just detailing the basic fundamentals of what Intel Optane is. Byron, do you want to walk us through this particular article?
Sure. I'm not going to go through every single thing about it, but like
Right.
the easiest things that are discussed is, for starters, their pricing. So
Right.
$44 for a 16 gig module.
Yeah.
They're calling them modules at this stage. Is not actually even competitive in terms of SSD pricing.
No
Because
chance.
like an SSD for $75, I expect 128 minimum, possibly 256 depending on the brand
Like at a
and like
good-
the
good
speed.
deal.
You know,
Yeah.
a good deal, a special or something like
Yes.
that. The thing that people are kind of like not seeing about Optane is it has benefits and it also has cons, and it's not a replacement for SSDs in any way whatsoever for the average consumer. Like, that's not even fair to say. Like, if you're a gamer and you're looking for the best loading times, most likely an SSD makes the most sense considering these
File
sizes. These
File sizes, for sure.
Like Battlefield's not a 16 gig game, even though 16 gigs is not all the
Right.
stuff that's being loaded.
Although I do wonder if it's smart enough to actually cache the loading files of the game, and
before
like
we,
it doesn't have to cache the entire program, just certain sections of
before
it.
we get on that, we haven't even explained what Optane is.
Well, just go ahead and do that before I start
this is the
asking
thing.
questions.
Mechanical hard drives, everyone knows, we've had them for years. They generally a capacity per price value add versus performance.
Yes.
Like you're gonna buy a 4 terabyte mechanical drive for the same price you're gonna buy a 256 gig SSD, a good
Right.
one. Let me put it that way. SSDs, on the other hand, have always been pushing the performance boundaries per price more so than capacity. Although over years capacity's increased per pricing now.
Right.
Now the concern though is it's still at the stage where you can't buy a high capacity SSD or a super fast hard drive for a affordable price.
Right.
They don't exist really.
Yeah.
And what Optane does is it basically attaches itself to mechanical drives. So a good example of
Through
this is
through the M.2 connection standard.
Yes. So practical usage case scenario of this is not the user that has an SSD. It's the guy that has a 2 terabyte hard drive inside of his PC and is looking for that extra
turtle
performance.
sleeves are right.
No worries. Looking for that extra performance in terms of application load times,
Yes.
booting, etc. You add the Optane drive and it becomes a cache for your system. But not a cache for your hard drive, a cache for your system. This is the thing that's different this time around because it's basically an extension of DRAM to a degree,
Yeah.
where it's kind of like RAM but with a tenth of the latency, or 10 times the latency, I guess is the better way to describe
10
it.
times the amount of latency for
Yeah. So this is a cool technology. It's something that's going to increase the performance for the average consumer.
So
But the average consumer, I think, over the past 5 years has
Upgraded to an SSD.
upgraded to an SSD.
Yes. So one of the things with the title of this video, just with Intel Optane being lame, it's not that Optane isn't a cool technology. It's not that it's not impressive by Intel to develop this or to include it on their Z270 chipset. It's just the practical applications of it in a like user scenario. Everybody for the past 5-6 years that I personally know has gone with a 128 gig boot SSD
Minimum.
and then a 2 terabyte storage SSD or HDD.
I can at least say within, I mean, let's say the past 12 months, I've not known a single person that's bought a full system without an SSD.
Right.
And I mean, look, at the same time, depending on how well this actually turns out, it might be something for like new system builders where instead of buying a 256 gig SSD, it's just like, hey, get a 4 terabyte drive with Optane. So this is not an upgrade path. This is not the guy that's got a 1080 and a Samsung 850 Evo or something like that or whatever. Maybe that's a bad SSD example, but like
I have my 950 Pro. I'm not going to then move my favorite game, whatever it may be at the moment, to my Optane storage.
No, but even to be said, like I'm talking about like people that are sitting on 2.5 inch SATA interface SSDs.
Yeah, you're right.
Because like yours is higher speed than that anyway.
Right.
Like you've got NVMe storage, and like if you've got a SATA SSD, this is not an upgrade path. That's why we say it's lame. It's not something to upgrade to. It's not something that's going to influence the direct consumer today.
Right.
But it's a awesome technology to be implemented in future. And we were discussing this earlier. Practical usage case scenario, I at least see, but drivers and implementation, that kind of thing, long term is something like network storage. So
yes, so we were talking about this, getting this in a home theater PC to cache all of the many used applications that you use there, or even potentially caching like series of shows. You start one episode of the first season and then it caches the rest, so that you can pull it more quickly than a traditional standard drive.
Because especially like 4K content and that kind of thing, where if you have multiple people pulling data from a NAS, you're not always going to be able to actually get that throughput of like 4K content kind of thing.
Right.
Whereas, look, we're saying this, there would have to be driver implementation and like
firmware features
software to hardware level of being able to do this, because that's not what Optane's doing at launch.
Right.
But at the same time, like if you're in an office environment and you've got, let's say a finance, I'm trying to think of an example, office where people do finances and that kind of thing, and they're working in big spreadsheets, and there's multiple people that are working on the same spreadsheets being opened often, and you have like a dedicated system that's being used as a NAS. Optane will help there, because what's going to happen now is those files that are readily being used more often are going to be cached on the Optane memory, and like it's going to be faster. Because the thing is, remember, like a lot of people are like, oh, I've got a gigabit network and I've got AC wireless and whatever, but like there's so many bottlenecks with desktops these days that it's like your bottleneck may even just be the mechanical drive you have. And you've even seen this firsthand with your NAS at times, depending on what kind of like throughput we're trying to utilize on your network.
Yeah.
So Optane is a cool technology for implementation in the future. There's a lot of like nice possibilities with the technology.
Yes, like one of the biggest possibilities is potentially as it matures, getting higher capacity.
Yes.
For cheaper price. I mean, that's obviously the way that not really RAM has gone. Like RAM's we're getting the same capacity over the last 5 years.
We've just gotten speed.
It's kind of flatlined as far as like capacity for price, but with hard drives and SSDs, the capacity has gone up per price. And let's say you can get an Optane drive for 250 to 512 gigabytes, then it actually might be worth it to consider including in your system if it's comparable to the price of an SSD, because not only are you going to get the benefits of non-volatile storage to actually store your data on, you're then going to get the increased benefit of having kind of sub DRAM access on your system.
Well, look, something we haven't necessarily discussed either in these theoretical kind of like usage case scenarios is that Optane is also basically like a memory cache or CPU cache kind of thing, like an extra layer, where it can increase system performance, let's put it that way. So like if you're a person that only has, let's say, 8 gigs of memory, like normal DRAM, and you've got a 32 gig Optane drive, I see a practical usage case scenario where like 8 gigs gets filled up these days, and like if you only have a mechanical drive or an SSD, that kind of thing, the caching is not as good.
Right.
But realistically, like this is the thing I'm getting at, that when you're buying a PC today, you don't buy a mechanical drive, you buy an SSD, you don't buy 8 gigs of RAM, you buy 16. Those are the benchmarks, let me put it that way. There is the average consumer that's going to buy 8, there is the average consumer that buys mechanical, but like I see...
For gamers, it's been the standard to buy 128 boot SSD and then a multiple terabyte storage for all your Steam files.
Like 16 gigs of RAM, you can
8
argue...
to 16. But then still, like, if you have 8 gigs of RAM, you shouldn't be buying Optane, you should be buying more RAM.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
Because it's still slower than DRAM.
Yeah.
It's 10 times slower than DRAM, and so you're still getting access penalties for using Optane when you could, for roughly the same price, just pick up another kit of RAM.
Yeah, because I mean, if you're looking at... Sorry, can you get back to that pricing quickly?
Which pricing?
Of the Optane. So like the 32 gig was roughly 1,000 Rand, right? I'm just trying to like, what's the dollar value?
So
$75, let's say, even over 1,000
like
Rand.
1,000 Rand, let's just go there.
That's more expensive than an 8 gig DDR4 2400 module.
Right.
There's no... I don't see any reason to buy this.
You can't get 32 gigs of RAM for that price.
No, but the average consumer is not going to utilize 32 gigs of RAM either, which means this is not necessarily useful. So look, okay, Optane is a cool technology.
It's in a weird place.
It's in a weird place right now. I think the implementation and capacities and that kind of thing needs to still like get a Gen 2, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
I don't not recommend it. Like if you want to buy Optane to increase your system's, not stability, performance, sure, go for it. But like, I'm the kind of person that's going to be like, well, do you have 16 gigs RAM? No, we'll go for that first. Do you have an SSD? Well, maybe rather spend that money that place.
Right.
Like there's other places I would rather recommend spending that cash right now. And realistically, if you're sitting on an i7 7700K with 16 gigs of RAM and a...
Because you have to be on Kaby Lake in order to utilize it.
Exactly. You're sitting on that system, you're probably already happy with your performance, you probably don't even care for Optane. So
potentially. I mean, there are other scenarios. But let's get to the next part of Optane, which you have to mention something about this that we were kind of chatting about.
Sure.
So this is Linus Tech Tips. They posted this video this morning or last night where they got exclusive hands-on of an actual Intel Optane drive. Yeah. So this is the performance benchmarks that they're showing.
You can put it full screen quickly just on...
I'll do theater mode.
That works.
Okay, so they showed versus a hard drive only. Boot times are cut way down.
Yeah.
The launching of GTA 5 is like 19 seconds, which is still significant. Then Photoshop is another 19 seconds off. Then you have, that's Titanfall. And then Photoshop is here, which is 15 seconds. And
that's a huge difference.
Then Word and Excel launching is also substantially slower. And the reason they did two runs of Optane is because it's caching, so they have to have an initial run for it to cache in the first place.
Whereas an SSD is holding the memory, it's holding the data within the SSD and it has access to it at its fastest speed every run, whereas this is a caching solution, so it first needs to run it once before it's cached.
Right.
Now, my complaint with this, and...
What's your complaint, Byron? Tell us.
My complaint is that...
Why does this anger you? What is your problem? Do you need help? Should I get a counselor?
No. Go back to the video.
Yeah,
so even though it's open knowledge kind of thing that Linus Tech Tips is not a kind of brand that favors AMD or Intel over the one or the other because they work closely with both companies.
Yeah.
The issue I have right here is thanks to Intel for sponsoring this exclusive look #sponsored. Now, the concern with this is
There's nothing wrong with the sponsored video.
There's nothing wrong with the sponsored video. The issue with it is, generally speaking, when there's sponsored things, people try to use like best usage scenarios where possible to try to make their tech look better than it is. And what would have made more sense in this is hard drive only, Optane first run, Optane second run, SATA interface SSD, NVMe storage.
Yes, they're only comparing this against a
hard drive.
Did they even say
not
what
even, no.
5400 RPM, 7200 RPM?
It could be like an 8 meg cached 160 gig. I know they're not going to do that, but still.
We know nothing about this hard drive right here. But even one of the things that I was saying is like, one of the great values that you can still get in storage these days is get an SSHD.
SSHD, yes.
HD. Oh my
Which
gosh.
does this.
Which does, because as you continually use your programs, it starts writing them to the 8 or 16 gigabyte cache that exists on the drive itself.
Yeah. Look, I think this is a simpler solution where no matter what drive you have, this is going to give you system performance increase. But at the same time, I mean, like the complaint we have is that it's like, sure, you can tell me it's better than hard drives, but a decade ago you were telling me what's better than hard drives.
Right.
And it's like, I bought an SSD
Like Linus,
a decade ago.
Linus
basically.
explained why you should buy a solid state drive over a hard drive on NCIX Tech Tips. I think 7 to 8 years ago.
Yeah.
No, not that long, but still a while
Look,
ago.
let's put it this way: it's not new.
Yes.
SSDs are nowhere near new. They're
unless
like
they're doing
their
this
fifth generation.
unless that hard drive was a 15,000 RPM Velociraptor, I'm not necessarily sure that's a relevant benchmark for most people.
It's like putting it this way. It's kind of like when there was this scenario once where they used something where like, let's say a 1080 is coming out, right? Even though it's already out.
Sure.
You're comparing it to like HD 530 graphics or something. It's like, that's an unfair comparison because you already know it's terrible.
You're technically right. They are both graphics processors, and yes, they both technically run video games, and yes, they can both technically run the same game, but it's an unfair comparison. The HD 530 is obsolete, like for actual practical use cases where you want to play AAA titles.
And realistically, hard drives are obsolete for game load times, for Photoshop scratching, for boot times. Like, that's not a thing that's even been discussed within years.
Right.
Like, I have honestly never
seen... The only discussion I hear about it is, holy crap, my SSD just failed, and now I have to wait on this terribly slow hard drive.
Sure, but
it's like a shock to your system when you go back to just completely mechanical
like,
drives.
In a marketing front, when last did you hear about this hard drive being fast and that's the push behind it? Versus like, this hard drive has 24/7 stability for surveillance, like that's been a push recently, and like, oh, this one uses some form of
or it has 10 terabytes and is helium filled.
Yes, that's what I was gonna say. Helium, like that's been the push. Capacity has been the push of hard drives for the past, let's just say 5 years. I think that's a more fair example.
5 years practically, as far as SSDs prices being more
because SSDs
available.
has been out longer than 5 years, but the average consumer has only really gotten them in 5 years.
Right.
And this is the thing, like, Optane is in a funny place because what you're comparing it to doesn't make sense. Like, nobody's buying a hard drive for boot times.
At least in that Linus Tech Tips intro video, which was an exclusive hands-on look. So that's their like marketing push that they want to do first launch. That's what they're doing. And so I don't blame Linus for showing hard drives.
No.
I blame Intel for only giving them a system where they only had hard drives to show.
Because Intel has, what are they, the 750s or whatever, those like
NVMe drives. Like they showed that in the video, and then it wasn't in the system.
Yeah. So we have a few complaints with it. We don't need to go into it too much further. There's a lot of capability. There's a lot of headroom. Let me put it that way. At least like possibilities with Optane.
But you know what?
Not yet.
Yes. So there's possibilities. It can go to great places. But I'm also very concerned that this is going to be a marketing stunt that fails because they launched Z270 with Optane support with no release date of Optane. Yeah. And now it's still kind of like mid-April, maybe. Like they're not committing hard on any Optane releases, and then they already released the hardware to support it, which is kind of indicates to me something didn't go right with the Optane launch. They probably should have done it with Kaby Lake, but they didn't. Something's weird here. I don't really see this catching on.
People that moved from a 6700K to a 7700K got 200 megahertz performance boost. You know what I'm saying? Like an overclocking. Right. There was no like logical reason to move from one CPU to another. And there were some people arguing, okay, fine.
But you want Optane.
I want to get Optane. I'm going to go for Z27 even though I got a 6700K. No. Like, honestly, you could have spent that $100 difference because you probably lost money in selling your old board by just getting yourself a higher capacity SSD.
Or getting more RAM.
Like, this is the issue I have right now, that it's like $75. Fine, it's not $100. $75 can be used on a better GPU, a better monitor, a better not motherboard. I that's a place I usually argue with people. A better CPU. Like, there's just so many better things out there in the market.
Right.
For a $75 increase.
Right. Caching speeds hasn't really been the bottleneck for so many people in quite a while, and if it is, it's because you're still on a mechanical hard drive.
And like I saw someone arguing. I saw someone arguing on the internet saying, okay, but like, what about my mom who uses Office applications? Wouldn't it be nice to just throw this in her system where she's got a mechanical drive? I would argue that, well, your mom doesn't play games, so 128 gig SSD is more than enough capacity. Get her that because she's going to have the performance no matter what she does.
Right.
Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it's hard. Unless you're someone that's like literally using a massive amount of storage constantly and swapping between files regularly, I don't see Optane being useful right now.
Right. Well, I think we've beaten the horse to death.
What
do you guys think? What are your thoughts on Optane? We will read them in just a moment. So that's good. There's just been a few comments.
Okay, the rig that we're busy streaming this video on is a Ryzen
Are they even
system.
asking us?
Yeah,
I think
someone
they're
else
asking. No, I think they're asking each other in the. But yeah, the
Well,
system.
speak about it either way.
So the rig that we are streaming the system on is a Ryzen 7 1700 CPU on a B350 motherboard that I will soon be getting rid of. Then we also have 32 gigabytes of Trident Z RGB RAM in a fabulous color scheme, and then a GTX 1060 6GB Galax EXOC, which is also in a fabulous color scheme.
And look, Brett bought this 1700 himself, so it's not like he's forced to say anything specific, but
I love Ryzen.
Yeah, like we've both been streaming a lot of things recently, and the issue with Intel at this stage, unless you're an X99, which like none of us are,
right.
Is CPU utilization is almost always at like 100%. And right now we're sitting at like 30% CPU utilization, pushing both Facebook 720p 30 and YouTube 1080p 60, encoding both of them, splitting them out to different platforms. So
yeah,
that's good. A lot of people don't understand that streaming does utilize a lot more than they realize. Because there's two things. There's me using Shadowplay, recording my local footage and going, hey, I only lost 1 FPS. That's not the same as encoding and decoding and streaming.
Yes, because that's completely dependent on your CPU.
Like,
your GPU is not really.
I actually watched a dude that just reached 1 million subs. Jay's 2 Cents did a live stream where he was playing Ghost Recon Wildlands on his Titans, and he couldn't get 4K 60 FPS while live streaming. And people were just like, oh, that system. It's like, no, dude, like it really crushes CPU performance, and that game's already CPU like bound to a degree.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nobody really wants to talk about Optane, so that's fine. We'll just move on to the next article, which let me pull up before I just throw it up there. Okay, Byron, you want to chat a little bit about this? That was the wrong slide. There we go. All right, it's official. We're not using esports. We're now using esports, not esports.
Yeah. So shout out to Congo Carl for sharing this on social media.
With Critical Hit, yeah.
With Critical Hit. Basically, it's something kind of stupid, but at the same time, a lot of people have always had this argument of like, how do you say esport? Well, not how do you say it. How do you
spell
type
esports? Nobody's ever argued how do you say email.
Yeah.
Email.
But like the thing is, because there's a lot of brands that will have like a small e and a capital S, and then Facebook's one of their main issues where it has capitalization in the beginning of a word no matter what. So you can't have a small e and a capital S. It has to be a capital E, and people have been complaining about it.
There's
I don't know, it's something small.
S. Yeah.
Yeah. So the basically the TLDR of this is that you don't say small e, capital M for E, electronic mail. So why would you do it for electronic sports? It's now official. It's like, I don't know if it's an English dictionary or whatever.
No, it was AP Editor. So for the Associated Press, they decided that we are now in all of our publications going to be spelling it E
with a
SPORTS.
Yeah, and it's one word. It's all lowercase.
Right.
Quick article. It's just something worth mentioning because it is something that people have been curious about before.
Yep. All right. So now, Byron, they're bringing back the Note 7. We talked about this on like the first 3 episodes of B-roll. This was like when Note 7...
This was B-roll.
This is when the Note 7 stuff was going down. People's pockets were exploding. They were banning them from airplanes. Samsung was like, okay, we got to recall that, but let's fix the batteries and send them back out. And then those were exploding, and everybody was just like, what the heck is going on? Well, they took a few months hiatus, and now they're back with new Note 7s. Byron, do you think these ones are going to explode?
Not new Note 7s, but...
Whatever, however you want to parse it. You can get a Note 7 at a retailer maybe near you.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Byron,
okay.
Stop caveating everything I'm
Let me do some explaining. Okay, so...
Explain yourself.
So we both agreed in the past that the Note 7 was a fabulous device in terms of its spec. Okay?
Yeah, that was one of the main things that every reviewer said was the Note 7,
best phone ever
fantastic. Yes. Camera is amazing.
You can die.
Except for the, the sheer amount of explosions that happen.
So now the issue is that basically Samsung recalled let me get the figure quickly.
I'll fine, I'll pull up the article.
They recalled 4.3 million devices, which is a ton if you think about it.
What was it rumored to cost them
billions?
I think it was like anywhere... I want to say 7, but that seems too high. Like somewhere around $2 billion that this recall of all the Note 7s was going to cost them.
Yeah, and now the thing is, basically a lot of activists were like, listen, what's happening with these devices? Because throwing away 4.3 million devices and just like cutting these things in half and putting them in a junk pile is like bad for the environment, bad for the earth, that kind of thing. And at the end of the day, like we were saying, these devices were good. Like, the batteries were the concern. I think they drew too much current. We didn't even know the whole story. Even
there was manufacturing designs with the battery itself.
Yes,
yeah.
but like the camera was best in class, the screen was best in class, the storage was fast.
Yes.
Like there's so many things are good about it.
So
they're taking two routes where they are refurbishing some of them, and in specific countries, never US, they will be reselling the ones that they know have no issues with.
Okay.
No rebrand, just they're going to be...
So with the original battery?
Yes. Original battery, the ones that were in problems, not in the US and not in... And the problem with it is there's no guarantee you're still going to be able to go on airplanes and things. There's like, don't do it. Don't go buy one of the refurbished ones. Directly, what they are going to do is they're salvaging some of the parts to create a new phone. So I highly doubt that they're going to reutilize the screen because... They said that they're going to have a smaller capacity battery, which when you're pushing something with that many pixels is a concern. Right. So what'll probably happen is like, I'm speculating now, we had like a S4, we had S4 Mini, S5, S5 Mini, that kind of thing. We haven't had a Mini in a while. So I wouldn't be surprised if they reutilize, let's say, the camera and the storage and that kind of thing for like the S8 Mini or something. So this... It'd be cool. Like there's a lot of components they could salvage out of it and reutilize in a new non-flagship model because it makes more sense now there's new tech. But it's just good to see that they've kind of taken something that was a disaster. They handled the press correctly. They handled the
out of everything that happened with the Note 7, the one thing we always gave congratulations to Samsung on was they never tried to hide behind the fact that they weren't like, no, our devices aren't exploding. Oh, those people that are dying, that wasn't us.
Yeah.
Oh, your son died in a car exploding? No, not us. Not us. Don't worry about that.
Like Ford dodged questions.
That's not even
Apple's dodged questions.
Let's not name names. Yeah. Samsung owned up to it both times.
Yeah.
And now they're coming back with a new plan. So I kind of have hope that they've actually thought this through because they could have just cut their losses. Yeah. They did it in the appropriate way. I think people are making jokes about the Note 7, but I don't think people really lost respect for Samsung. Like, I don't think the S8 is going to perform worse just because the Note 7 had some issues. Although you do have the older crowd of people that say, oh, you have a Samsung? Is that the one that explodes? And it's like, no, this is the S7. But that was the Note 7. But now, for like the older generation, people who aren't tech savvy, they're just like, I'm not buying Samsung ever again. But I don't think that's an issue for most people who watch this show.
Apple's had two major hardware issues within their lineup. They had the
Antenna Gate.
The Antenna Gate and the Bend Gate. And then, neither one of those things stopped people from buying them.
Right. And then they also had the fact that they were manufacturing their SoCs at two different plants, and they were performing differently. I think it was Samsung and
Samsung's done that before as well. So Samsung's always had the Exynos processor, and then they've had the Qualcomm.
Except for they sell in different regions.
Even so, South Africa was one of them. Where they didn't tell you if you bought the LTE or non-LTE versions of like the S4, I think.
I'm talking about America. I'm talking about important places right now.
Oh wow!
Where these companies actually invest their money.
Hey, that's uncalled for considering that America is usually the place that has really bad cellular reception.
That's not true. But anyways, it was uncalled for. I apologize to both you and all of my South African
country
viewers.
that you are currently in.
I that was a joke.
Anyway, that's
a joke out of
beside the point. Beside the point.
What was my point? I was saying something.
It's good for them to do this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fine. No, I was going to talk more about Apple screwing over people with the different processors. But let's move on to the next article. Yeah. So we talked about this. You can get a Note 7 at a retailer near you, potentially in the future, with smaller battery. Preferably not explosive this time, which I think they would ensure, considering this is the third release of the Note 7.
This cost them money. They're not going to be willing to like have another press issue.
Right.
They're not going to let it happen.
Right. So next one, PS4 Pro gets 4K media player support. I don't know anything about this.
Okay,
I
so
didn't read it. You put this article in your mind.
Straightforward. You can now play 4K content via USB if it's fast enough, or via external.
It lacks a Blu-ray drive.
Blu-ray. Spelling mistake there, web guys, but whatever. So PlayStation, I think, like, props to them in the past 6 months with the PS4 Pro, where they've been adding extra features to it every other month, like the external hard drive support for game installations, and now
it's just stuff that was a long time coming, and especially like I think Sony was betting on, instead of actually putting money into a 4K Blu-ray player, since Sony freaking owns Blu-ray. Like, I think they realized, like, everything's going streaming. Like the amount of people who actually own a disc drive of any kind, even a Blu-ray, like is very limited.
So when we were speaking about Linus earlier, he did a review on one of the 4K TVs from, I think it was LG. Did you watch that?
Yeah, the 65-inch OLED.
Yeah, and he was like, we're gonna compare the native versus like an Xbox One S and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like on the market there's like 7 movies, and like maybe one is good, and if you don't want to watch those movies, there's nothing for you. Whereas like 4K Netflix is a thing. And like that's what people do these days anyway. So it's like the digital side of it is what.
But
makes
even
a lot more
4K
sense.
Netflix, I don't think quite has the bitrate of 1080p Blu-ray. Like it's still lower fidelity, as far as I know.
I don't know.
Regardless, streaming media is always going to be lower quality than the actual physical media.
Oh sure.
So there is value in a 4K Blu-ray player, but at the same time, I don't think that's where most consumers are going.
So unless you've got kids or like, I don't know, you live in a country or region where they don't have like really decent internet, I don't see most people buying DVDs anymore. I mean, video stores are closing down left, right, and center because there's no reason for them. And like, where are you going to sell 4K Blu-rays other than like Take-A-Lot in South Africa or like Amazon US when like you have Netflix at home?
Right.
Like, why wait for the movie to come when it's like a click of a button?
Right. Yeah. Okay, that was a quick article.
Yep.
Let's now move on to Blizzard is remastering Starcraft in 4K resolution this summer, coming to a theater near you.
So this is kind of the most interesting remaster I've ever seen in terms of the way they've done it.
Okay.
The reason I say that is, so Starcraft, for those of you who don't know, it's an RTS. It's been around forever. If you don't know about it, well,
then you're never
going to know about it. Let's put it that way, yeah. I mean, basically, it's kind of the game that started esports, arguably. Now, what they've done with it, instead of like StarCraft 2 to a degree was a remaster of StarCraft 1. You can argue this, but the reason I say that is it was a greater visual fidelity version of the previous game with a new storyline.
Right.
So instead of doing that route of like just upping graphics, they upped the pixel density, let's put it that way.
The texture fill rate, basically?
No. So like they redrew the stuff. Okay. But what's amazing about this is it has 1-to-1 support with StarCraft 1. So if you've got like a friend on some like junk PC from 20 years ago, you can literally play it versus you on the new version.
So this is the SD version, and then this is the HD version, which like there's a noticeable difference there.
There's a noticeable difference, and I kind of like it because this was a complaint for me with Fallout, and like people argued with this where I was like, Fallout changed in 3, I enjoyed 3, but I hated the way that they were no longer isometric and the game was not the same anymore.
Sure.
And a lot of people were like, StarCraft 2, I don't really know if I should get into it because I loved 1, but it's not the same game.
Right.
Well, this is literally the same game with upped resolution, support for like better internet connectivity, and
better for PC Master Race.
And I think what's just crazy about it is I've never seen a game remastered but having compatibility with the original. It's like so interesting for me that like I wonder how that's going to work, because even something that a lot of people don't consider is TCP/IP protocol is not that old in the span of like PC gaming. Like when I used to play Age of Empires 1, we would use IPX protocol, and that was the same with StarCraft. And it's like there's an actual incompatibility issue in terms of like LAN play and that. And this game has LAN play. Like they have not removed any of the features.
That's crazy.
It still has LAN play. It has compatibility with the first game. It's just up resolution. The only concern I have is generally with these kind of games, when you move from a 4:3 aspect ratio to a 16:9 and then zoom out because of the pixels, because it's still the same game, you got a competitive advantage. Because now you're seeing more of the actual scale of the map and things going on.
Yes, but anybody who's playing competitively, would be on the higher end system.
Like the guys that are playing StarCraft aren't really even looking at what's going on. Like their minds are just cranking up to like over 9,000 RPM kind of on their mouse. I mean their keyboard anyway. Like it's a different group of people.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool. I'm really glad to see that happening because StarCraft is a game that has a massive following, and it has been kind of like dying down for the past 2-3 years, especially competitive play. But at the same time, to be fair, most of the reasons why competitive StarCraft has been going downhill is because of match fixing, and it hasn't necessarily been because of the actual game, and this doesn't combat that at all. Like StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2, if there's match fixing, there's match fixing.
Right, you can't really do anything.
I don't know if the push is a marketing of like, hey, we're relaunching the game to make more money, more than like we're paying homage to an awesome old game and making it better. I don't know. I'm glad to see it either way.
Yeah, it was an okay game. Okay, moving on to the next article. What do we have here? We have Final Fantasy 15 is getting a major patch that covers Chapter 13 changes, bug fixes, and more. So one of the biggest issues that people... Oh, wow, that's 5.6 gigabytes. That is a massive patch. That is a very large patch.
The game was like 60 gigs.
So, yeah, that's like 1/12 of the game. That's a large patch. It's still a large...
It makes sense.
No, it's a large patch.
It's large, but it makes sense.
Yes. So one of the biggest issues that people complained about with Final Fantasy 15 was Chapter 13 in particular. It had a completely different tone and feel and like just setup to it than the rest of the game. And people, I thought it was designed perfectly. I enjoyed the way it played, but then again, I also was way over leveled for where I should have been. So that might have had something to do with it. But at the same time, like Square Enix heard everybody out and said, okay, we're going to come in with a Chapter 13 Part 2 content so that you can now experience a bit different Chapter 13 instead of the issue that was going on in Chapter 13 originally.
The main reason I'm happy about this is when I reviewed Final Fantasy, I finished the game in 22 hours. Which
I think I just ripped my tail.
You ripped your tail?
I think I just heard my tail rip.
I finished Final Fantasy in 22 hours, which might sound like long for an average game, but that's like nothing for Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it should have been like 40 hours. For like
the
a
average
person
was like 40 hours. And the thing is, it's because I ripped through it. I wanted to review it. I wanted to see as much content as I could.
Did you just make a rip joke because I ripped my tail?
Pretty much. And
Rude.
The thing, though, is that I always said I want to come back to the game and do like a playthrough as long as it takes for me to play the game just out of enjoyment, not out of any reason to try to finish it.
Right.
So this is cool because Chapter 13 for me was something I ran through and I was like, meh, like there wasn't anything going on and I hated the ring. Like it was so underpowered.
Well, I didn't want to...
Well, no, so there's something worth... There's no spoiler.
I didn't want to spoil it, man.
I'm going to say it anyway, okay? There's a specific item in the game that was underpowered. Now...
I didn't think it was.
But you were overleveled.
Except for its normal attack didn't really work, but then when you did the special thing, that totally killed everybody.
Well, here's the thing. So people are complaining now about this patch because there's a boss at the end of the game. I don't want to spoil that too much, but people were taking like 100 hours to fight it, and then some people were taking hours or whatever. Utilizing this item with its buff takes 3 minutes.
Wait, which?
Adamantoise. So people are like, you just ruined the biggest, largest thing for like end game.
Yeah, like that was the last trophy I had to get, and I spent 2 hours fighting that thing.
So imagine doing it in 3 minutes. That would be a disappointment because like the final boss.
Not really, because it was just a trophy hunt for me.
Okay.
Except for the build up is just
the build up to it.
It's like this massive thing that you're now hunting.
You spent like 100 hours playing the game practically, and then you go and spend 3 minutes killing the final end boss.
Yeah.
That's lame. But look, we're both happy about it because Final Fantasy 15 is a good game. Like, easy 8, 9 out of 10, no matter who you are. Like, it works for everyone. It's a really great game.
Yeah, for new and old alike. All right. Nintendo is repairing left Joy-Con issues with a piece of foam, so they're basically... You send your Joy-Con in for repair, as they call it. They put this little piece of foam right here, and what that does is then it shields the Joy-Con from the noise that's going around outside, just in your general day-to-day, 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, all of the other Bluetooth devices you have going on, your freaking microwave, all of those things are interfering with the Joy-Con, and so they just put that little piece of foam right there to...
reduce noise.
Reduce interference with the Joy-Con's connection to the dock itself, but it doesn't actually boost the signal at all.
No. So, well, apparently the signal isn't necessarily an issue. Outside noise was the main issue.
Right.
So I have this issue on mine. My left Joy-Con has problems. I'm not going to deny it.
Yeah.
I'm glad to see that there's now an official fix for it, and apparently Nintendo swaps it out within 7 days.
Yeah, you send it in and they fix it themselves.
Yeah, so I'm probably going to contact them tomorrow to get mine sent in, because I don't think... I mean, we're quite busy this weekend. I don't even know if I'm going to take my Switch. I don't know yet. I'm still deciding. If I do take the Switch, I'm not going to do it until after.
No, for when we stay overnight. It'll be good for Sunday.
But you don't have any games to play with me.
Why would I need to play with you? I can play by myself.
Then you might as well play on yours.
I'm self-sufficient. I'm not going to bring my Switch.
Then on the side.
Because you want to play your games.
Okay, being vague now anyway, but yeah, look,
Why do
what are we doing this weekend?
I don't need to talk about that in order for you to explain to me why
Okay,
I need to
anyway.
bring my Switch in order for you to play your own games.
Sure. But what I'm getting at is I want to play Snake Pass, but like I don't need to play it. I'm not reviewing anything like that. I can always play it next week. I need to get the Switch sent back to get the left Joy-Con fixed. You know what? I'll probably do it next week. I think it just makes more sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll do it next week because tomorrow I'm going to be playing, what do you call it? Snake Pass.
Snake Pass.
Yeah. Snake Pass.
Okay, so I pulled this up. Speaking of snakes, earn a Razer RGB mug holder by playing... Oh my gosh, all of these drop-down menus. Earn a Razer RGB mug holder by playing PC games. Thank you, staff writer over at My Broadband.
Stuff.
Appreciate your name.
Okay, so just something quickly random about this. There's been a lot of incentives that people have created, like vendors and that kind of thing over the years, where it's like, use our streaming service instead of XSplit, and for
I freaking want this thing.
Yeah, so for every amount of hours you play, you get points. So basically, what Razer's doing is use Razer. I think it was Razer Synapse. You keep it open.
Yeah, Razer
Cortex. Sorry, Razer Cortex.
Sorry.
You have it open for every minute you play the game. You earn points.
Because that's an alternative to XSplit and OBS, isn't it?
I'm not 100% sure.
I think it is. I think Cortex.
Just double check.
Yeah.
But basically, every day you can gain up to, let's say, like 900 points or something like that by even just keeping Dota open in the background. You know, I'm gonna do that. Anyway. And
using the system. I see how it is.
I think it's like after 70,000 points or 100,000 points, something like that, you can get the RGB enabled mug. Look, guys, this is not hardware. This is not something that like people necessarily care about a lot. But
I care about it.
For me and Brett, it's like we want them. Like right here, we want 2 of those things for B-roll. Razer, if you're watching this, send them anyway. Like they're RGB enabled, they're chroma enabled, they look cool AF. Like I definitely want one.
Don't ever say that again on my show.
I want one.
I do too. Yeah. Don't mention Razer. Douglas Allen Maitelli, why are you telling us not to mention Razer?
Razer do decent products. Like the Razer Black Widow Chroma V2 was like the coolest keyboard I ever used.
And I've heard good things about the Death Adder Elite V2.
Look, I have this thing with Razer that I usually tell my friends when they're like, should I buy this Razer product? And I'm kind of like, I have this opinion where Razer is one of the brands, and like, sure, many people are going to call me out for this, where it's like, if it doesn't break in the first 3 months, it's going to be like amazing for the rest of your life. Where it's like, if your product lasts 3 months, it generally lasts years. Otherwise, it breaks in the first few weeks. And that's kind of what I've had with my friends. Like, they'll buy a Razer mouse and they're like, I'm never going to buy a Razer again because I bought 3 and they broke in a day. But then, like, the opposite spectrum is like that guy that's like, I've had this Razer headset for 7 years and never had a complaint.
Right. No, I know people who had the Kraken Pro and it broke the first day.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, like, the only Razer product that I absolutely hate is the Kraken Pro 7.1 because it feels like your ears are bleeding. It's so like rough against your ears and like.
Do you know what headset I had an issue with? That's going to be my upcoming review. Mm-hmm. That new Asus one, the one with the 7.1.
Yeah, it's just like crushing.
Well, it has like this plastic rim around it that just like smashes your ear, and it's really uncomfortable to wear for any more than like 30 minutes at a time.
The thing that I find kind of funny is that like Razer makes good products. They definitely make decent products. They've always been the company that was more hype over performance. Even.
Right.
Like they've always been like, this is RGB enabled like 5 years ago.
Right.
And the irony now is that it's like, sure, all you guys that called out Razer 5 years ago about being like, you know, like 360 no scope, blah, 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 rect, that kind of rubbish, you know, that like, that's what every other brand is doing today.
Yeah.
Like literally every brand today is pushing hype.
Yeah.
So it's like at least Razer.
To some extent. Yeah.
They are. Yeah. Okay. And this is the thing I'm getting at, that it's like, I have products in Razer that are good quality, and I have products in Razer that I would never recommend.
Yeah.
You know, like some of their products are overpriced. That's definitely a thing. But as much as any other brand, and I think Razer gets kind of like, I'm not wearing Razer today anyway, but like I feel they kind of like uncalled for when people say these things, because it's like, hey, you bought a keyboard 1,000 Rand more because you wanted RGB. You can't say that a 500 Rand Razer mouse is bad.
Right.
Like,
yeah, I get
you know
it.
what I'm saying.
I get
anyway.
it. Yeah.
But yeah, look, spending 1,000, 2,000 Rand on an RGB enabled mug, probably a stupid idea, but we would both do it.
No, I would never spend money on it. If I had it, would I use it? No, I wouldn't spend that much money on it.
Yeah.
I would not spend that much money on it, but no, I would. Stop it, Byron.
Okay. Moving on.
Moving on. Let's just take a look at the beauty again. That looks so nice. Okay, moving on. Corsair One gaming PC released Again, Linus also did a video about this. Dave 2D.
Dave 2D.
Yeah, he did a video about this as well. The Corsair One is a trash can PC that emulates the Mac Pro or the MSI Vortex, which is actually really interesting that Corsair did that, since they Corsair and MSI collaborated on a few things. But mini ITX motherboard, SFX power supply, 2.5 inch SSDs. What do you want?
It's probably running MSI internals then, though.
Potentially,
because that's kind of what they did the reverse way. MSI is using Cortex cooling.
Corsair cooling.
Cortex, I don't know what I'm saying. Vortex, Cortex, whatever. The thing that was interesting about this is that basically...
pictures.
Look, it's pretty. It's pretty. It has decent performance. It's running a 7700 or 7700K.
Is this the one that has fabric? No, that was the HP one.
And I think it's running a 1070.
Why is that sideways? Let me
Just
check.
quickly go back to the specs.
Either an air-cooled 1070 or water-cooled 1080.
Yeah.
So it has dual radiators on either side, so it separates the cooler for the CPU and the GPU.
Yeah, and something Linus said is that like if you go and basically like use a system configurator and build something like the spec, and consider you
DDR4 boost. Yeah, that's an MSI board.
Yeah, you're getting a high-end board, you're getting a high-end chassis, that kind of thing. Like it's you could say it's well priced. Like it's not excessive. It's not something like the Acer Predator 21X at like $7,000 or whatever kind of value.
They don't have pictures of the GPU. That's strange.
That is strange.
Wait,
but yeah, starting at $1,800 for like high-end system is not bad.
Oh yeah, you're not going to be able to tell what manufacturer that is. But given the fact that they collaborated on the Seahawk, it's probably.
I think this is like an MSI collaboration. It wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, cool. So
it's cool. It's beautiful. Is it available?
I don't know. Let me go back to that.
Like that's one thing I didn't actually notice. Like availability.
I don't see any announced in February. Is now shipping.
Okay. So like this was actually kind of cool though, that the way they did the marketing for it was that like with like you could buy it the day that pretty much like the big reviewers showed it off. It was a nice way to do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to something else that looks kind of cool, but
I love this. Yeah. I love this. This GTX 1080 Ti has a pre-built-in LCD monitor. They want to call it a display. Let's just call it what it is. You can get a graphics card with a monitor built in. So this is from PC Gamer. They are actually pulling source material from video cards. So let's head over there. Colorful, which is a brand that mainly sells in China as far as I know. I saw a few of their 1080s at Computex last year. But I mean, this is a very gimmicky looking card. Like it's not the most beautiful card in the world, but you have that little LCD screen right there. I see
people that would buy that.
I would absolutely.
And
I would run that. 100%.
That actual shroud from that angle
looks
it's not that far off from a Strix.
I don't like this. I mean, RGB implementation, backplate. I mean, no, I get what you're saying. It has the same design scheme.
Kind of. A little bit more tacky though.
So this LCD right here apparently can display
thermals,
how fast you're going. Yeah, the core clock, and then also the fact that it's a 1080 Ti. That's super useful. Of course, this is just a rendering. We don't actually know what it will be able to display, but
or what its thermals will actually be like at the end.
Yeah, colorful's okay. It's a 16 plus 2 phase design since.
Well, so the concern
same as the Zotac Extreme.
Yeah, so they're saying it's a 16 plus 2 phase design, where it's like, okay, sure, you can overclock more, but don't forget this thing's running an LCD display. So it's like. There's still more power draw. Yes, an LCD. I mean, here's an LCD display on my watch.
For competitive overclocking, nobody's going to use the LCD display.
No.
For normal overclocking, you want to get 2.1 gigahertz on your 1080 Ti. It's not going to matter whatsoever. That power draw is going to be so minimal. It's not even going to.
Every Pascal card doing that anyway.
Right. Yeah.
Look, it's cool to see like this kind of feature. It'd be nice if it became like a norm where it's like the GeForce GTX logo was an LCD and you can do whatever you want with it. Because it's even like that you've seen that new chassis that's got the LCD side panel.
From iBuyPower.
Yeah.
The Snowblind, I think it's called.
Yeah,
something like that.
It's go check out Snowblind, guys. Just Google it.
Something like that. Yeah.
It looks cool. Like I see it as being something that definitely like could be implemented as a standard in like 5 years.
You know what was so strange for me about that particular panel? So iBuyPower actually had that on display at Computex, and nobody covered it till CES. Like
maybe no one knew.
Maybe because they were at the HW Bot stand, which was kind of out of the show floor, so it was like off to the side. But like even Tech Syndicate, like Logan, went to HW Bot and they did a video about HW Bot, and like. like iBuyPower then did the big reveal at CES of this whatever that side panel was called. It's just like, no, I saw that happening. I was really confused, and I was like, I don't know what this is. I've never heard of this before. This must be some sort of voodoo where they're
you wouldn't even know it's a consumer product.
Right.
You're just like, oh, someone did a mod.
Yeah. I was super confused by it, but apparently it's a real product that you can buy, so that's pretty cool. All right.
Should we start the straw poll?
What straw poll are we starting?
Stuff last week.
Byron, you're just not even making sense to me right now.
Okay, so guys, last week myself and Brett had practically like an hour discussion on how he had never played games in his life before 2007. Practically. So
PC games.
PC games. He had played PlayStation games and made a suggestion that Brett should play some form of like a iconic game from the past, pre-2007. And two of the biggest suggestions were Half-Life 2 and Warcraft 3. Within those, there's still obviously like, is it Episode 1? Is it Gary's mod even as a mod? Is it Warcraft 3? Is it like Dota? Still, we'll get to that at a later stage, but we're going to put up a straw poll on the YouTube chat, and basically, guys, just please go vote. What do you guys think Brett should stream and try for the first time in his life? Half-Life 2 or Warcraft 3? So we're going to check it both in the YouTube chat and in Discord.
Yeah, there we go.
So guys, please go vote in the straw poll.
Okay, and while you guys are voting, we're going to move on to the last article that we have from Gamers Nexus. Thank you, Steve Burke, not staff writer, for putting this article together about what caused the AM4 retention delay for liquid coolers and just kind of coolers all around, basically. Like,
why they aren't AM4 compatible coolers at launch.
Right, like there was a few. There was that Noctua that they shipped out to all of the reviewers in those press kits.
Which is not currently available.
And then you had the ROG Crosshair 6 Hero, which had AM3 melting holes. So
which is also expensive.
Yes, but you could use your old AM3 Plus coolers. But there really wasn't anything as far as like AM4 compatible, and everybody's just kind of like, Corsair, Cooler Master, all of these other companies, what are you doing? AM4 is here. I need to cool my CPU. I already have your cooler. I'm not going to go buy a new one.
The concern was that basically the kind of cooler you're looking for at launch for an overclocking like implementation on Ryzen is none of the ones that were available, because let's be honest, not everyone's buying the highest end board, not everyone's buying like air cooling. It's like it's not a norm these days to buy air cooling for overclocking anymore.
Right. So like you could get the H110i or the H60, but those are 120 and 140 millimeter radiators. It's like, no, I have
the 280s.
I have the H100i, which is a 240. It's like, I just bought this. Why would I buy something that's only a 120? Like, I want this, and I want to use it.
There was some small Cooler Master one. It was like a $20 that it's like, it's worse than the 212.
Yeah.
And like, 212 is good, but what I'm saying is it's like not even close to what a 212 can do.
Yeah.
No one's going to buy that because you might as well just use a stock cooler from like the 1700.
Yes. So basically, there was some investigatory research done, and the idea behind all of this, this post made to a subreddit for NZXT said, our friends over at Tom's Hardware brought to the public's attention an issue with third-party AM4 cooling solutions, as the specifications supplied by AMD did not include the height of the backplate screw holders. This has created a discrepancy in backplates that does not allow for coolers to have adequate pressure on the CPU.
That's insane.
That is like one of the biggest things that you could potentially forget on like telling your cooling partners, hey, you need to design this. Okay, like how much force does it need? Like how long does that screw need to be in order for like to get proper contact? Because we don't want to break your CPU. Because this was one of the issues that happened with Skylake. One of the boards or the contact was so thin for the Z170 that some of the coolers were actually flexing the board and breaking it.
Remember how much issue I had with my Fantex trying to plug it, like connect it?
That was something different.
You're right.
Yes. So that like metal retention bracket just needs to be bent once. It's too stiff out of the factory. That has nothing to do with it. So basically, AMD didn't really provide the specifications necessary in order for people to use the coolers that they want.
They also use Starcraft.
We can answer that later, I think.
Okay,
so let's see the results for the straw poll, maybe. Let me pull that up. 100% Half-Life 2. Okay, awesome. Fantastic.
Awesome.
Oh, I closed Firefox, whatever. No big deal.
Guys, those of you who voted for Half-Life 2, epic. I'm happy. So we'll have to figure out it maybe even this weekend.
No chance.
Okay.
No chance.
No worries. So I'll get Brett to stream Half-Life 2 sometime. Whether or not he plays episode 1, episode 2, whatever, I don't know yet. But
I own it.
Yeah, I wonder if you should play Black Mesa Source first, which is like Half-Life 1 remastered. It might make more sense. It's
Maybe.
Half-Life 2 engine.
I don't know.
Because then at least you can kind of get the story.
I don't really care. I don't even know what's going on. Okay, so now is the portion of B-roll where we do Q&A. So guys, ask your questions both in the Discord chat, where the link is visible right there. Discord chat, also in the YouTube chat. We will be checking both of those. So I see a question right here. Where was it? Thoughts on the Asus Claymore?
I have none. I haven't used it.
It is the most versatile gaming mechanical keyboard on the market. Like, out of any mechanical keyboard, that Claymore can do everything you need it to. It can be a full size, it can be a travel one, it can be a one for accounting, it can be one for macros. You can make it whatever you want, which is amazing. The only issue is in South Africa, particularly, the pricing is just insane. It's priced over a Corsair K95 Platinum here in South Africa. In America, the Corsair K95 Platinum is $30 more expensive than the Claymore. But here,
which is significant in peripheral pricing.
Yeah, the Claymore is 1,000 Rand more expensive than the K95 here. Which is just like, what are you doing, Asus? Like, Asus America doesn't think it's worth more than the K95. Why does Asus South Africa think it's worth more than the K95? I don't know what's going on there.
But you like it.
Price aside, it's... I can't say it's the best mechanical keyboard, but as far as range of features, it's the best.
It has the most like...
it's the most versatile I've ever seen. Yeah.
Okay.
For sure. The ROG Spatha, I love that mouse. It is also expensive. It's also expensive.
But I mean, that's something.
Except for it's not when you compare it to the Logitech G900, which is the other gaming wireless mouse on the market.
But then again, the G403 Prodigy wireless has the same sensor and is only $99.
It's a different market though. Like the G900 is the one that they said like this is our top flagship, and then Asus is like this is our flagship. So you have to compare them there.
I guess,
even if they did come out with a budget one.
Yeah. Are you a Florida guy living in South Africa? Answer the question. You're dodging questions.
I'm dodging questions left and right, man.
Seriously, why?
Because I'm dodging questions. I used to own a Dodge. In fact, do not stand up. Oh, you want to see that onesie? Okay. All right.
This is awkward.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's a full turtle onesie, complete with the tail, anatomically correct in most of the ways that you need it to be.
No comment.
No comments. Okay.
No comment.
I am not South African.
I am.
Yes. I don't even sound South African.
No, he doesn't.
Let's do a poll to figure out if he is American or not. You think he is not. I would just ask you to consider what my accent actually sounds like. What are my thoughts on the 1080 Ti performance? It's 35% better than the 1080.
What are my thoughts? It's fast.
It's fast. Okay. There we go.
You dodged questions.
I'm dodging questions left and right.
Come, go back to them.
Stop it. What did you miss? Peanut, you missed a lot.
How's the internet in South Africa, Brett?
Depends on where you live. Either really great or really awful.
And depends on your budget.
And also depends on your budget. Although, comparing it to American prices, like, it's not...
It's okay now.
Yeah.
It was worse when you first got here.
Right, except for fiber didn't change in price. I just got fiber. Yeah.
Availability was next to nowhere, which still mattered.
Availability was the issue, not necessarily the pricing of the thing that I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay. It is a turtle. Yes, it is a turtle. It's inspired by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Inspired though, because it's not an officially licensed TMNT onesie. So there we go.
Someone's asking a random question I think you can actually kind of answer. How do you modify a GTX Hall of Fame to use a closed loop AIO?
You would have to get rid of...
We did?
Except for you can't because of the way that it's set up. What we did when we modified your reference cooler was because it had a blower style fan. Yeah. We didn't have to remove the fan. In order to put a water block on the Hall of Fame... you would have to cut the heatsink and
in
then
half.
no, don't do it. Do not. Do not.
That's what I'm getting at.
Do not put a liquid loop on your Hall of Fame if you want to actually keep the aesthetic of the Hall of Fame. It's going to be...
Get yourself in...
You're still going to have the white PCB and you're still going to have the white backplate. Like, it's still going to look like a Hall of Fame card, but at the same time, you're not going to keep the gigantic fans, which are really nice.
Do we ever build a closed loop system? Yes, that's the one we're mentioning right now. Go check out the Xbox/PC build that Brett did last year, March-ish, I think. Somewhere there. Maybe even earlier.
No, it was like February 28th, I think, because it was right before my trip to Cape Town last year.
Okay. Do you want to get the video?
Yeah, I'll pull it up and put it in chat. No reason not to. I have plans for February 28th, a forthcoming closed loop system. No real details on that right now. I'm just working with a few different companies to try to figure out what we can possibly do for that build. So there's the...
So if it's Kermit the Frog.
It's not Kermit the Frog. Look at that bandana. I am a Ninja Turtle, you rude person.
Australian accent?
I don't even
Maybe
think so.
I don't know.
I mean, so...
Probably from someone outside of South Africa, it might be their perspective.
I don't know. Like, South Africans always get my accent wrong.
But international people always get my accent wrong too.
That's...
Like when I'm not in South Africa.
Yeah. Like when I'm here, like most people assume I'm British. And I don't have a British accent. Nowhere
I'm
close.
closer and I'm not even,
Right. But South Africans hear you and it's just like, oh, he's normal. Whereas I sound funny to people.
We've spoken about this. Me in California, I sound weird to people there. It's all
That's
about
true.
where you're from.
When you bench, how long do you stress the CPU on Prime 95 to get accurate temperatures? I don't stress on Prime 95. There were a few issues back in the day where
it could damage CPUs.
Yeah, like the way it actually did its benchmark could actually damage the CPU. So I do an IDA 64 stress test, and I do that for about 10 minutes until it levels off. Like, to get accurate temps, it's basically when do you see the temps leveling off? Yeah. If they're continuing to go up, you're not getting an accurate reading. Yeah.
I'd say once your temp is like gotten to like a plateau, leave it for another 10 to 20 minutes and then see.
Right.
Because that plateau might only come after 6 hours if that's what happened, which is unlikely, but yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a programmer? Neither of us are.
No. The 1080 Ti's put Titan owners in a very weird place. Absolutely.
But they've always done that because
No, not really. The 980 Ti wasn't as harsh. Like you needed to the reference 980 Ti couldn't beat a reference Titan. But what happened was all of the add-in board partner cards when they were overclocked could beat the Titan. But now they're saying reference versus reference 1080 Ti is just as fast, if not faster.
But the thing that people kind of forget is that this is the 5th Titan and who knows how many Ti, because we had the Titan Black, Titan Z, Titan X, Titan XP.
Wasn't there a Titan Y?
No.
Are you sure?
No, there wasn't. I know without a doubt. There's only those 5.
Okay.
And TIs go all the way back to GeForce 2 days.
Right.
And that's the thing that TI was always supposed to be the best.
Yeah, I think it might be with the manufacturing process of Pascal. I don't really think that they could put the Titan that far ahead of the Ti.
But even I think the confusion as well as going from Kepler Titan to Maxwell Titan, they changed what Titan meant. Because Kepler Titan was all about the double precision floating point, whatever.
Yeah.
Basically
double precision floating point introduced.
Yeah, something like that. So you can play games and you can design with this thing as good as a Quadro, as good as a GeForce at the same time. That's what a Titan was.
And then with the second revision, they got its single point.
Yeah, so I don't recommend a Titan unless you just want the name.
Yeah.
There's literally no other reason to get a Titan generally from here on out.
There's no reason to consider it right now. And Titans weren't even brought into South Africa, but one of the big things is the 1080 Ti will.
The
XP. The most recent one. The one that's been launched since I've been here.
Yeah.
Okay. This is their version of Wendell? Who's their version of Wendell?
It's talking about me.
Oh, it's talking about you. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't hide behind monitors.
I think he is Japanese.
I'm very certain that is a joke, obviously. Okay.
It's because you're in cosplay.
Is that what we're calling this? I'm calling this my pajamas. I'm in my jammies. Let's check the Discord. Nothing there.
Nothing. Okay, guys. Final questions. If you guys have anything to ask us on B-roll, please ask now in the man, I can't think of what I'm saying right now. In YouTube chat, otherwise in Discord. And Yeah, I say ask differently to you.
Ask.
You say ask.
Ask.
Yeah.
Because my
South African.
My A is an ah, not an
Mine's
aw.
because I'm South African.
Aw.
Okay.
I don't
your
even have
unicorn-
a vowel that makes that noise. Aw. Like, cool.
Your unicorn video is the best test. What best tech videos on YouTube? One of the best.
Your standards are really low, my friend. I like my videos. I had fun making that one. Not the best. Not even close. But thank you. I appreciate it.
Do you won't visit in Ukraine country? If
Uh,
I ever went to Ukraine, it would be meet Dandy, and that's about as far as it goes.
Who?
Dota.
Okay. I have no objections of traveling to Ukraine.
I don't see any other reason to go right now. That's the only thing.
No, I don't have
there's
reason-
nothing that we're involved in that kind
That
of,
goes on in Ukraine, so
yeah,
unicorn video is the
is
best.
the bestie.
Okay.
Welcome back. We're about to leave.
Yeah, we're about done here. I need to put my Ryzen system to sleep. She's just purring along so beautifully.
Talk about what we're doing this weekend, or you want
No.
Okay.
I want to keep that off. So there's the Ryzen system with my beautifully painted. Oh, I just put my finger in the fan. There we go. There she is.
Imagine I just dropped the actual stream.
And then you got the beautiful RAM right there. Thank you Wootware for sending this over. Thank you Wootware for my beautiful Galax graphics card with the new paint job. I just need to get new cables for this. And
Beyond custom cables, right?
Yeah, Beyond custom.
And something worth noting, they do international shipping. So even though
That's true.
those guys of you that are not in South Africa, check out Beyond Custom's website. Really epic cable sleeving.
Yeah, really good
And they
stuff.
don't only do like power supply ones, they do what else was it like?
Ethernet.
Ethernet, SATA, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Peanut, he doesn't know Dandy because he doesn't know Dota.
What's Dota? Defense of the Ancients. I know that much.
It's not even that anymore.
Is it just pure Dota?
Yeah, because it's like it's a licensing issue because Dota 2 is not Defense of the Ancients 2, it's Dota 2.
Okay, because Valve didn't make Dota 1.
No,
Because there was a Warcraft mod.
Yeah, so it was a Warcraft mod, which means there was an issue with Blizzard, even though it was made by IceFrog. Even though IceFrog didn't make the original Dota, he was the one that took Dota and made it better and kind of kept the updates going.
Okay.
And then kind of like took the project on.
Okay.
He was involved from like early, but like it wasn't necessarily only his.
Right.
He got hired by Valve, and a friend of mine actually, acquaintance, let me rather put it that way. No, well, like
Of all the corrections to make,
that's,
I don't even
that's
know.
horrible for me to even say.
I don't even know
Okay.
who you're talking about.
A guy I went to school with that I'm not close to anymore. It's probably a better way to put it.
Sure.
He actually worked on Dota 2 like before it was released, and I learned about it in 2009 already. Like I got a like pre-alpha key, pretty cool.
Okay.
But yeah, like Dota 2 was just supposed to be like the sequel to Defense of the Ancients, but there was a licensing issue with Blizzard, so they were just like, you know what, we're gonna call it Dota. Because everyone called it Dota anyway.
Okay.
So it's like, it's Dota, and we're like, Dota TM, it doesn't need to be Defense of the Ancients.
Yeah. Okay.
But the only issue with it is like if you started Dota now, the lore and stuff would just be like fine to you, but like the people that are like OG Warcraft 3 days,
Right.
like there's so many name changes and things like that like kind of annoying.
Gamehead ZA, I'm putting a link in the YouTube chat for the straw poll for you to vote on which game I should be playing. It's a choice between Half-Life 2 and Warcraft 3. So there we go. This is the unit core cables. Yes, that CPU cooler looks so sexy. Yes, AMD did a great job. I really like it. I really like the way that cooler looks. The only issue is, let me actually show you. Byron actually pointed this out to me. The thing that AMD did with this cooler is that AMD, oh, there it is. That AMD logo is actually on every stock cooler over here. I actually unscrewed it and rotated it that way.
You didn't even notice till I told you.
Yeah, like I had no idea. Well, no, I knew it looked weird, but I just didn't even look for the screws.
Yeah.
But like
I was just like, no,
turning it so
needs to
it
change.
orients at the top of the motherboard makes so much more sense than
Yeah.
having it face left for no good reason. Like, you don't mount your motherboard sideways most of the time. If you do, great. But the way that's set up is it's just it's 4 screws in a square pattern, so you can
I've
totally
only
do it.
ever known one chassis in my entire life that was that orientation, and it was like a Corsair that had this like weird shroud at the top so that you wouldn't see the cables.
Like that thermal tick gullwing thing that we're seeing, or no? Is that a different?
No, that's completely different.
Okay.
Okay, other questions quickly. Recommendation on a 140p IPS monitor. Wootware's got a pretty cool one, a Dell that's like $4,000.
Sure, but it's
60
not
FPS.
It's not
60
gaming.
hertz.
Yeah, 60
Well,
hertz.
he's only asking IPS. He's not even asking gaming.
Yeah, I mean, let me pull up WooWare's website and see what we got there. Let's see what we got.
Just up 2560 by 1440.
No, they have these filters, man.
Oh, that's cool.
Like they have filters. They have filters.
You chose the wrong res.
What did I choose?
You chose 1600.
Is that 16 by 10? 2560
Yeah,
by
yeah,
1600?
60 by 10, yeah.
Okay.
It's that one right there.
Yeah, so a 24-inch 1440p Dell for 4,199 Rand. Wait, is this guy in South Africa?
Well, if you're not, search for that model on Newegg or Amazon.
There's that.
Preferably use Amazon.
They have a 25-inch ultra-sharp anti-glare as well. Then they have a gaming 1440 hertz G-Sync for 11,399. That's pretty steep, but when you compare it to the other G-Syncs that are actually on
a lot
sale,
more expensive.
like the Asus one, it's 5,000 Rand less. So
yeah,
really good reasons to consider the Dell. They make pretty good monitors, and their customer service, as far as I know, is pretty good here in South Africa. So
okay, let's quickly check the other ones.
please do a review on the Ryzen cooler. Check out Bitwit's video on it. I'm probably not even going to get it.
How did you paint your Galaxy card? Someone's asking.
I used Rust-Oleum's Flexi Dip, which is a rubber-based paint, so you can peel it off afterwards. Like that paint, if I wanted to, I could just strip it off the backplate, and then I just have the original backplate again.
Which means your warranty is not void either.
Right. I unscrewed the backplate, and then I also took off the cooler, took out the fans out of the shroud, and then painted all of those separately, and then put them back together.
The guy was in South Africa either way, so that's perfect.
Yes. Why do I have that onesie? Because I do.
Yeah. Go back in the stream and you can find out.
It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. There we go.
I have superpower and what? Okay, I'm not gonna go there. Vote for Half-Life 2. Do a review on the Ryzen cooler. Look, the thing is, like Brett said this before, there's some products that kind of like you can't really review because it's like.
And one of the big issues, the reason why I won't choose to do a review on the Ryzen cooler is just because the Ryzen CPU isn't reporting temps properly. It's a 20% delta from where it's correct, and you don't know if it's
20%, 20C.
Or 20 degrees Celsius from what it's actually at.
Which
so
is
it could be 20 more or it could be 20 less. That is a 40-degree range for you to be guessing at what your CPU is at. It's good enough for me to run a 3.7 gigahertz overclock on this off.
I think if there's any of the Ryzen coolers that may be worthwhile for you to check out, it'll be when like the Wraith Max comes out.
Which is the radiator. No, Wraith Max.
The biggest air cooling one that's still coming out. Like that one might be worthwhile for you to check out, but whether you review it or not even is another story.
Yeah.
What GPU and CPU should I get for 1080p 100 FPS? I'd recommend a 1070 because
GTX 1070.
You're gonna get over 100 FPS, and any 6th or 7th generation i5 or i7.
No, i7.
100 FPS. i5's doing it, dude.
No.
I'm using it right now.
I know you're using it. I know you're using it.
Okay, fine.
But you're playing Dota. You are playing Dota.
Okay. Jesse, what games are you playing?
Yeah.
If you're playing League of Legends, 1080p, 100 FPS, a laptop's good enough.
Yeah. All right, we're going to just take the next few questions and then we're going to sign off. So it's 9 votes to Half-Life 2, 1 vote to Warcraft 3.
Yeah. Which it's probably going to end up being Half-Life 2.
Apparently.
Maybe you can do like a charity stream for Half-Life.
Maybe.
That could be quite cool.
Maybe.
What do you guys think? I mean, I don't know. Like, it doesn't need to be, but...
Maybe. I'm open to it.
Yep.
Something to chat about, for sure. All right.
We can get Brett to do a full live stream in this onesie for 24 hours.
Well, as long as it's in the winter, because I'm freaking sweating up a storm right now. All right. I think that
Where'd you get the onesie? Might as well shout out.
Yeah. It's called Africa. So it's... let me pull up the website. It's A Freak A.
Clothing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
Do they do international shipping?
I don't think so.
Oh, probably because of licensing, I guess, as well.
Yeah. So you can check out here for the onesie if you're at all interested.
He didn't get sponsored or anything.
No, this isn't. I bought the onesie. I'm dressed in this onesie. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for joining B-Roll. We will see you guys next week, same time, same place. We should be back in time for that. Byron and I are going on a super secret mission this weekend, which is going to be pretty cool.
28 hours worth of traveling in a car.
Fantastic. Hey, that's your choice. You wanted to go. That's the only way we could do it.
It's the only way we could both be involved.
Yeah, so there we go.
I'm going to be driving 28 hours, but we'll see what happens.
All right, guys. Thank you again for joining, and we will see you guys next